A Wells Fargo employee went to work the morning of Friday, August 16th and never went home. Tempe police tell 12 News 60-year-old Denise Prudhomme scanned into work at 7 o'clock in the morning. 4 days later, police responded to the office building near Washington Street and Priest Drive for reports of a subject down. Prudhomme was declared dead.
Did you get that? 60-year-old woman scanned her badge at 7 a.m. and she was found dead 4 days later. It really is a sad story that no one checked on her. Can you imagine spending your final moments in your office alone at your desk? It's certainly not how most of us want our final moments to be like. Let's hear the rest of the story.
The Police Criminal Investigation Bureau is investigating, but do not suspect foul play. A Wells Fargo employee exclusively spoke with 12 News, but asked not to be recorded or identified out of fear for their job. They say a colleague found Prudhomme dead at her desk in a cubicle while walking around the building on Tuesday, August 20th. Prudhomme's cubicle was reportedly on the third floor and away from the main aisle. This employee says several people had smelled a foul odor, but passed it off as faulty plumbing. They say while most Wells Fargo employees at this Tempe location work remote, the building has 24/7 security, and someone should have found Prudhomme sooner. The incident left several employees feeling scared and uneasy. This employee wants to see new safety protocols in place.
Well, one of the big points about return to office mandates, and I made a video about this, you can check that out. A lot of companies that have office workers, like tech companies, like finance companies, they're really pushing folks back into the office. And what they're saying is that it creates camaraderie, it creates a great culture, it creates a great connection between employees. But it didn't really work in this case. In this case, why didn't anyone notice for 4 days? Not even her manager, none of her coworkers. So there was no real camaraderie. There was no real connection. And frankly, I think an investigation needs to be done here, and the management chain needs to be held accountable. So one of the things that I think has happened here is that the job that she was doing may not have been seen as very important, critical, or essential. And whether it really was or not, we will never know. But one thing that I've observed at companies is that oftentimes there's a lot of work that is created that doesn't necessarily impact the top line or the bottom line. And it's easy to get sucked into jobs that, frankly, senior leadership doesn't care that much about. But if they're not strategic and you're in one of those positions, it might not be the best for your career. So, what you need to do is to understand which jobs are really seen as important, which jobs are really seen as strategic if you want career progression. It's important to have that kind of insight into what you're doing, and you cannot just rely on what management or your manager is saying. You have to develop those skills for yourself. The other thing is that, it's sad, but when it's all said and done, you're largely a resource and a number to use by corporations. And so when you think about your relationship with your company, you should understand that you're a resource for the company to use and use most effectively. It's up to you to make sure that you take care of your health. If you're like I used to be, I used to ignore my health a lot and put off going to doctor's appointments. And I developed several health issues over the long run. In the short term, you might be able to get away with it. Your body might be resilient, especially if you're younger. But in my experience, all of that eventually catches up with you. And that goes for mental health too. So make sure to take those sick days if you need them. Make sure to take that vacation. Make the doctor's appointment.
The incident left several employees feeling scared and uneasy. This employee wants to see new safety protocols in place, telling me, quote, "It's negligence in some part." A different worker also spoke with 12 News anonymously.
It was just uncomfortable.
Again, calling on the company to do more.
Body was there about 4 days before anybody found it, before anybody walked up to her and just to say hi, make sure she's okay. She was just laying on her desk.
A Wells Fargo spokesperson previously sent 12 News a statement saying, in part, "We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of our colleague at our Tempe office," adding counselors through our employee assistance consulting service are available to support employees.
Okay, the reality is that after Wells Fargo deals with the PR nightmare, they're going to replace the poor woman within a matter of weeks. As I said, at the end of the day, you're a resource for the corporation to use. You have to understand what's really happening in a company. You have to know whether you're valued or not. You have to be able to read between the lines and develop the skills to understand not just what they're telling you, but what they're not telling you as well. If you're in a position that's not really valued, chances are you're not going to be well connected to the rest of the company. Your managers are not going to be checking on you that often. Your teammates might not be checking on you. You may be doing a job that's actually not needed. Nobody wants to hear that. But it's important to understand that there are many jobs in my experience where a cog is turning, but it's not really connected to anything else in the company. And very often, the reason those are kept going is because people are too busy to take a look, or it could be just incompetence. It could be just the vanity of the management chain that want bigger and bigger empires to maintain and control, even though they may know they're actually not really producing valuable work. So be savvy about it. Understand what's really happening. While this was a sad story, it's just a good reminder to all of us to get our priorities right, to stand up for ourselves, to advocate for ourselves, especially when it comes to things like our health and family time. Now, I can't cover everything in videos, but feel free to sign up for my free newsletter you can find in my channel description for more tips and insights. And if you found value from this video, please like, subscribe, and always remember, stay savvy.